Would you notice anything amiss if you turned on the radio and you heard something like this?
In 2 minutes is the weekend, and then Lisa teaming up with Ray for Born Again.
That little snippet of audio is from a radio station called CADA, and that host is AI generated. That radio station had that host on in that slot for 6 months and didn't tell anyone. And it has become a major scandal recently for the ARN-owned station, but it just goes to highlight that AI-generated content is everywhere. Now, audiobook giant Audible has announced their intention to use AI technology to narrate audiobooks, either in-house or by supplying the tech for publishers to produce their own. Would you listen? Do you care if the voice is real or not? Simon Kennedy is from the Australian Association of Voice Actors. He's also a voiceover artist. Hi there, Simon.
Hello, Prue. Thanks for having me.
So, your first thoughts on this?
Well, as far as the AI-generated radio host, as someone who was a former radio jock DJ myself, I think it's really sad that they are not offering entry-level positions for broadcasters who could learn the craft and access a new audience. So there's that, which is a bit sad. One thing that also was a little bit disturbing about it, and our Vice President of AAVA, Teresa Lim, who is an Asian Australian woman, noted that it was sad that the only person of colour that the ARN network had on air was a digital puppet, and that is really disappointing. But furthermore, the lack of disclosure was probably one of the worst things as well. I mean, the fact that people weren't given the option to scrutinise the media that they were listening to, and I think that is super important. I think that is probably one of the things that this government, with their second term, should probably act on quick smart, and that is transparency around AI-generated content.
Audible is one of the biggest audiobook companies in the world. I mean, they have millions and millions of subscribers, people who religiously like to listen to audiobooks. And at the moment, the vast majority are voiced by actors like yourself. What sort of threat does this pose to people in your position?
Well, I mean, it is a threat to people who make a living out of voicing audiobooks. And there are a big number of voice actors who primarily do audiobooks. And audiobooks is probably, it'd be one of the hardest jobs in voice work there is. It's time consuming, it takes a lot of concentration, and it is exhausting emotionally as well as physically. And the reason it's so important is because the people who listen to audiobooks have a very intimate relationship with that book and with that narrator. But using AI narrators for audiobooks it's a real race to the bottom when it comes to quality. And I think that they'll see a lot of people aren't seeing through the whole book because they feel absolutely nothing for the AI voice that's narrating it to them. I thought it was really interesting. I read the press release from Audible on this one. They actually said, "We are bringing new audiobooks to life through our own fully integrated end-to-end AI production technology." And I think bringing them to life is the exact opposite of what they're doing. I think they're taking the life out of these stories.
Do you think, though, after a while, if this gets brought in, it becomes the new norm that people will just accept it? The technology is getting better every day.
Well, I mean, that is the question. Are people going to accept a low standard as the new norm? And it will be a low standard. It'll feel like nothing. But the incidental reports I'm getting from people are like, basically, I started listening to it and then I realised I was feeling nothing for it and I just gave up. I think that is something you cannot underestimate, is the humanity that a voice actor brings to the storytelling. And it's something that AI, no matter how competent it can sound, no matter how good the diction is of that AI voice and how nice the tone of the voice is, if there's no heart or soul behind that voice, there'll be something lacking the whole time.
Can I ask about what whether there would be a way forward in terms of rights for something like this? For example, Simon, you have been signed on to read a particular series. After a while, the series goes on, you retire, but they still want to keep using your voice. Do you think there are mechanisms by which companies can actually I suppose, pay for your voice into perpetuity being generated through AI? Is there some sort of way to license individual voices? Do you think that's something that could work?
It exists now. It does. It's not as common in Australia. And the reason AI voice usage isn't as common in Australia is because the Australian accented AI voices are pretty flawed mostly. And that's because most AI voice language models, as getting into some technical stuff here, large language models, basically the program that teaches it how to speak like a person, are trained on predominantly US accented voices. That's where most of these AI companies come from. But yes, there is a way forward if someone wants to do, and I'm going to use the word ethical here, but I'm going to use it in the real sense because a lot of people are using the word ethical with AI when it's not ethical.
Yeah.
Ethical AI voice is a thing that I could see being part of the landscape. Ethical means that the voices that were used to train the AI model how to speak were consenting voices. There were people who consented to being part of that process. Most, I'd say 99.9% of AI voices out there were trained on non-consented, scraped data from people who don't know that they were put into that machine. So there are companies out there that claim that their voices are ethical. However, it was trained on unconsenting voice actors who had no say in it.
Gosh, it's a brave new world, isn't it, Simon?
Yeah, well, yeah, but you can do it. You can do it. And there's a company in the US that was set up by voice actors where every voice actor who is used to train the model has a profit share of some degree and has consent, absolute explicit consent. And then as the voice might get used, creating some kind of output that people might use in the marketplace, that actor is paid for the exposure that their voice is getting. So absolutely there's a way forward, but it has to be from go to woe, from training to output. The whole thing has to be ethical.
And the law isn't quite keeping up at this point. Simon, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
It's my pleasure. And all I can say is labelling of AI-generated content, because people really deserve to know what they're consuming.
Indeed. Simon Kennedy is the president of the Australian Association of Voice Actors.